So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first ever student cafe for the Environmental Science for Sustainability, Ecosystems and Technology program. We've just started. And I should click on this button now, and I should click on that button. Here we go. Now we are live. Here we go.
Okay.
So that's good. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the first ever student cafe for the Environmental Science for Sustainability, Ecosystems and Technology program. I have three lovely guests here with me today, all students from the ESSET program. And I suggest we start with introducing them, and then I'll also introduce myself. And then we'll answer any incoming questions that will arrive. I'll first give the turn to Ewi, and then we'll just move on clockwise.
So my name is Ewi, like you said, and I am currently a second-year student at ESSET. And I'm now doing a project about climate-resilient cities. So hopefully we can talk about it today a little bit.
My name is Kumani. I am also a second-year ESSET student, and I'm also a part of the same project with Ewi.
Nice. My name is Alexandra. Some people might also know me as Sasha. I have two names. I'm a third-year student in environmental science, and I'm currently doing the regional climate adaptation, which is kind of similar to what you guys are doing now. So I think we will find some resemblances and similarities about that.
You can get a preview for.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Don't tell them anything about the exams, okay?
I'll think about it.
Okay, now, welcome. Obviously I should introduce myself. My name is Paul Sandman. I'm one of the teachers or lecturers at Avans at the Environmental Science program. But I'm not teaching in any of your courses right now, so don't worry. I'm not going to here to grade you yet. So, but I'm here to help you moderate. Okay, now we have two guests available as well. Right now we have two guests, Alessio and Shanto, if I'm correct. They have joined us in the chat. And obviously there are visitors, so I suggest we first check if they have any questions. So if you have any question, you can ask the question in the chat. There should be a chat window in the Teams environment in which you are. So here we go. I can see already someone typing. So that's good. And obviously, if you have multiple questions, feel free to type them all at once, and I'll feed them into my students, giving them some time to prepare and answer the questions. And otherwise, I have lots of questions, great questions I want to ask you. So if there's no questions coming in, I'll do it that way. Let's see. No question yet, but take your time. Also, stupid questions are allowed. Any type of question is allowed. As long as I don't see a question here, I might as well ask one of my questions. Obviously, this is a question that we as teachers really are always curious about. There are quite a few projects and courses that you have done so far in the second year or in the third year, or in the first year, if you still remember that. And my question is, which of those courses was the most interesting, or did you enjoy the most? I'll start with...
I don't crash the equipment.
I'll start with Kumani. Which one did you right now enjoy so far?
In my first year, I really enjoyed microbiology, the course and the practical. I've kind of working with my hands and being in the lab. I know it feels a little bit more professional. So I think microbiology was probably my favorite course, at least so far.
I do kind of agree with that. It's it was really fun to work in a lab. Did you specifically talk about bacteria type of labs or the chemical type of labs?
No, the bacteria type of labs.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That was really fun.
It's funny because I really am not into the biology part. So I really didn't like that course. Well, of course it was interesting, but it was just fun to see, but I wouldn't want to do it again. Because
very valid though.
Yeah. But that's also what I like about this our program. It's so broad, so we have all different types of things. But I think for me, for courses it's difficult because we had many courses, but I like more the chemistry courses or math courses, but also one of my courses that I really liked was Sustainability and Society of this year. So it really gave more holistic view about sustainability and also more about like the social aspects, which I really like because I felt like we didn't really cover that in other courses yet. So it's really interesting to me. Yeah,
it is quite nice.
I kind of get that because I also feel like in the first year we didn't get anything similar to sustainability in society. So this was something kind of new.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a common theme that to have like the sort of the more straightforward courses in the first year, and then in the second year we start integrating things. Try to teach you from a system perspective. So Now, other question: if you would point out the most challenging one.
Oh, I can name a few.
A few even.
My
Okay, the top three.
Okay. LCA.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. Life cycle analysis, it was the death of me. Oh my God, it was so vague. But at the same time, it was so specific.
Yeah.
And like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So at the lectures, it was like, what are we even doing? And at the exam, it was like so specific questions. And I was sitting at the exam, I was like, oh my God, my hands are shaking. I don't know what to do.
But back to the topic, right? So we have challenging courses.
You do.
You have a nice list. What's your challenging courses?
I would say also LCA. It was not like, I didn't feel like it was as bad as you described, but still it was very, especially the exam itself, they asked very specific questions, and also kind of like case studies, which I found more difficult to really apply it, especially like the scoping part. So I think that one was very challenging. But yeah, I think it really depends also on your background. Like my background was really more math, like B in Dutch we call it. So I felt like the math subjects were easier for me than people who didn't do that. So like physical transport phenomena and climate change was a bit easier for me compared to, I think, other students. Yeah. But yeah, for me, like microbiology and cell biology was very difficult because it was so much theory. Like studying all the theory was very difficult because I didn't have a lot of background knowledge in biology. So for me, that was more challenging.
That's so true.
I think I also, will not agree, but I also did think LCA was just a little bit difficult. Like for me, I sat in the class almost all the classes, and I felt like I don't understand what we're kind of getting at, and it felt like from the first lecture, it just felt like a repetition each lecture, and I just couldn't pinpoint this is what the course is necessarily about. So I felt like LCA was also difficult.
But what was funny for me is that the LCA practical part was for me very structured and easy.
It is.
While the theory part was very like big.
It was.
So this was kind of funny. Yeah.
For the people who don't know, like the practical part of LCA, so you get like a software, like a program on your computer, and then you're supposed to calculate the emissions during a product life cycle.
Yeah, like LCA means life cycle analysis. I don't think we mentioned it.
So this kind of like working with the software, it was like very straightforward. It was okay.
Yeah.
But the theoretical part, like, come on. Also, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with environmental law. No shade, Paul.
That's okay.
I didn't have environmental law. I had the Dutch one, so that's different. Which one did you have?
I also had the environmental law.
Yeah.
What did you do for environmental
For environmental law, we had like to study a lot of policies regarding the environment. And it was like really nice because then you actually get to see, okay, what the government is doing to like kind of limit the carbon emissions and make the environment a little bit more cleaner. So that was nice. But at the same time, it was such a big workload. So it was quite
it's true. It's one of the things. Obviously, we the part of the University of Applied Science program is we teach you practical skills. We teach you how to work in a laboratory, how to do field research, how to go out into the world, into the nature, and to do practical experiments there. Environmental law is a sort of a necessary evil. It's definitely not one of the greatest enjoyed courses, because it involves a lot of reading text and reading legal text. And obviously it's not something many students feel comfortable with. So that's why we only have one course on this, at least in the second year. But yeah, it is definitely one of the more challenging ones. Regarding that topic, when we talk about English, because I had a question coming in, I'm trying to switch from one to the other. We had a question coming in that relates to the level of English, right?
Right.
So none of you are native English speakers. How do you feel that with your level of English, did you function so far in this program? Is it okay for you? Do you think, well, the level of English, it's okay, I improved myself, etc.?
Yeah, I think for me, well, I'm originally from Ukraine, so my first languages are Ukrainian and Russian, so I had to learn English at school. But I mean, I think I've came in initially with quite a strong level already, so it wasn't like an issue for me. But even I think people who don't have such a like strong level of English as I do, they still were able to keep up, because in the first year of ESSET, you kind of learn step by step all the terms and all the things you need to know. So it's all right. I wouldn't say that you're like diving head first straight into environmental law, for example.
Yeah, I think that too. Also, like when you talk among each other, we all know, like for many of us, English is not the second language. So it also helps. And also for me, it was that especially for like chemistry and biology subjects in the first year, you start with the basis, kind of like repetition of high school. So you learn the terms you probably already know from high school again in English.
Yeah.
So it's not like you learn very difficult terms you never heard of immediately in English. So it's like you kind of create a basis and then you start building up on that. So for me, it was also really doable.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think, well, for me, English is my first language. So I would say for me, knowing a certain level of English is definitely needed for this study, because especially, I mean, in the first year, it's not as difficult, but for the courses where it's so much like theory and memorizing stuff, you definitely need like...
Yeah, that's definitely
you do
true.
have to put in more effort sometimes to look up words that you don't understand, but I wouldn't say it's too difficult for... so you cannot join. I don't know if I can say
that's definitely... So you
like
gotta
that.
like
You put
have
more
a certain
evidence,
level, right? For internationals, maybe they know you have to have at least B2. But I wouldn't say like be super afraid to try, because it's always good to get out of your comfort zone.
And you also get help from like your friends. Like at least in my environment, it's such like helpful people. So
yeah.
Good. Okay, now I also got a few questions coming in from Alessio from Italy. He prepared a list of questions, so that's good. You know, we like our students come in prepared, so that's very good. So I'm just gonna cherry pick a few. So, for example, one question that he asked: what is the division between science subject and, let's say, other subjects? Could you, provide, in terms of scientific topics, so things that I would assume relate to, let's say, chemistry, physics, and math. How does that relate to courses that don't necessarily relate to that? And obviously, we can also talk about project, communication skills a little bit. So how would you... what would you say would be 50-50%, really hardcore or softcore science topics, and then other things? Or do you think it's more 60-40?
I would say in the first year it's more 50-50, because it really provides a basis for all the other subjects and projects coming up. But I feel like later on in the first year, now second year, it's more applying it, using it in a context and stuff like that. So it's less focused on the theories itself. So I would say in the beginning it's really 50-50, and now it's, I would say, like 60-40 maybe, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the further you get into your program, so first year, second year, third year, the less you get like very hands-on scientific subjects. So for example, I'm in the third year, I don't get math.
No, exactly.
No. So as further down you go, the less you get scientific, but the more you have to actually apply it within a project. So it's very important, like, as you said, in the first year, you do get quite a bit of scientific project. You cover all the bases, like chemistry, physics, mathematics, everything. But then as you go further on, you apply it in a project more. So it's all right.
Yeah, and it also, I think, depends on the specialization that you choose, because I think the Sustainable Industries project uses more maths and stuff like that, and the project that we are doing and you did is less with like scientific theories.
Just gonna quickly do a backstory here. So I'm in the third year, and we do get two sides, like two specializations that we can choose from. So first of all, you have Sustainable Industries, where you focus more on a bit of economic side and mathematics and carbon accounting and energy. So it's more like a bit more numbers, I would say.
Yeah.
And also you have my specialization, which is water ecology and climate change. And you focus more on like the nature-based solutions and mapping and all kinds of like things related to that. So a bit less numbers, but
But I think for the new curriculum, it's really like a green road and a blue road, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that we took that from the specialization in a way, and we expanded that to other elements in the new curriculum. So what we do for the new curriculum, that's just what the first years are doing right now. So the year after you guys, is that they get as they get like 90% of the material. It's still the same. It's still there. It's still what you guys get, they get. But for, let's say, around 10% in the project specifically, they can choose between a green route and a blue route. And the green route track, or well, I would say route, it's more towards nature-based solutions. So there'll be the WEC track. And whereas for the blue projects, it's more regarding sustainable industry and management. So there's a little bit of, the choices that we offer in year 3. We already start with that in year 1 to provide the students a little bit more already like, a sense of direction of where they want to go. And obviously they can mix and match. They can do both things. They can do some, they can like in the first module, they want to do the blue thing. And in the second module, they can do the green thing. So there's still lots of room in a way to carve your own path. Yeah. But with this, we do offer like 2 different pathways, offering students their own sort of choice. So good point.
Have you heard feedback already from the first years? How they find it so far?
Oh, yeah. Let's say positive, obviously positive things about like, okay, so there are different options being given and they like the integration between the different module elements. So we got a better sort of more tighter fit on the teams. So we got that better covered. And also the blue and the green track, I think that's covered well. Obviously, there's still room for improvement. And that's what we're definitely working on. But overall, I think we're doing quite a good job there. But yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's nice.
But the evaluation from the students, it's still, it's still like coming in and obviously. So and at the end of the year, we'll just have a grand evaluation and everything. So back to Alessio, because I said he has a list of questions. So one thing that he also asked about is the he says there's an assessment interview, but that's the intake, right? You guys did you did an intake, which is a non-compulsory, just a half-hour question round in a way in which we try to uncover what did you like about the program? How did it feel for you? It was also your first connection to us because we have a teacher or a teaching assistant asking the questions. How was it for you? Was it okay? Were you guys excited or tense? Like, oh my God. I don't know.
I was nervous though, because
nervous?
I didn't know what to expect really. Yeah. But during the conversation itself, I had Sandra, and Sandra is really nice. I immediately relax way more because it's very casual conversation just about what you like and really to talk about, okay, if this study is really something for you, because it is a study with a lot of workload. Yeah. So you really have to put in the effort, and if you don't like it, you won't do it. So I think it's really helpful to really talk with someone who knows really the study, to talk about your interests and what you want in life, to know, okay, is this something you can do or not? Yeah, or want to do.
Definitely. I think in the beginning I was a little bit tense because I don't know what to expect. Yeah. But I can't quite remember who I had. But it was pretty chill. Like they asked you a little bit about your background. Have you done a study before this? What do you think? What do you find interesting? What do you think the study would be like? Like what?
Yeah.
What can you expect?
And I also remember we have proefstudeerdagen. I don't know what the name is in English.
Study trial days.
Study trial days. And what I really liked and enjoyed, and I noticed many people enjoyed, was the game that we played.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know the name of the game, but I thought it was really fun as well.
It's like where you have to decide about the best location to put a factory and everything. Yeah.
And then you have to think as an environmentalist for the farmers. You know, the industry. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I designed that game. So, thank you for the compliment. But no, obviously it's a good way to sort of, understand the complexity of environmental issues and also understand there are often multiple stakeholders and their own desires and own wishes. So it's definitely a thing. Okay. Another question that you probably will be able to answer. The average cost of living. Yeah, it's always the big dreaded question. How much do you say you spend on average, let's say a month on the cost of living? And you can subdivide that. We have obviously the housing, but also just, I know, one is easy, books. That's hardly anything, I think. There's not much money on books, but other things, just...
I don't know. I think... I think the average student accommodation, like a room, for example, in a student house, it ranges between 300 and 600, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So depends.
But I do have to say that Breda has become very expensive, but there are neighboring cities like Tilburg, for example, that are a bit cheaper. But in general, the Netherlands is hard to find housing.
Expensive. Especially if you're an international, you have to be prepared that you come in here, you're going to spend money. You're going to spend a lot of it, so you have to be prepared.
And search on time.
That is true. I do advise to search on time. But I think when I first moved to Breda, which was like my first ever time living on my own, I spent a lot of money on rent and it was pretty high, but I think it also depends on what you're searching for, because I believe if you have a room, then it's cheaper, whereas if you have a studio and you don't want to share any amenities with anyone, then it's definitely going to be pricier.
Oh yeah.
Did you do the international student building in the first year? Because I remember there's
I did. Yeah, Avans sometimes helps internationals to kind of land on their feet when they arrive. So they provide a room in a student house, which was super amazing, super nice. So I lived there for a year. It was quite nice. Yeah, but then you have to move out after a year and find yourself something. So it was quite stressful, I would say. So I had to move 2 times because I couldn't find anything permanent. Yeah. So yeah, I did my fair share of stress. But coming back to the question, I think it's fair to say that including everything like rent and food and I don't know, fun things, maybe you want to go at a cafe once in a while or something, you would have to look at from 1,000 euros to maybe 1,300 or something.
Yeah. But I feel like it also really depends where you come from. If you come from more developed countries, you may think the Netherlands is cheaper. But if you're more from
that's true,
the southern continent is maybe
that's
more
true. No, for me it was crazy.
Yeah,
because I come from Ukraine.
Exactly.
Things are, especially back in the days when I was still living there, it was way cheaper.
Yeah.
So I had to get used to it. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you have a side job?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I do.
How does it help you cover some of your expenses or?
Yeah, I'm lucky. I still live at home, so I don't have many expenses.
You make money then.
I'm saving for the internship, So
that's good. That's
smart.
Yeah, I do. I work part-time as a gym instructor.
Okay.
So, it does help. So it helps me cover my food expenses. So it's nice, but I cannot afford my rent. So I'm very grateful that my parents are still helping out. So. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. What about you, Kumani?
I don't have a job right now, but I do know in my first year I had a job and it was really stressful trying to balance working and studying at the same time. But if you do need the extra money, then I would advise getting a job. But even with having a job, certain things I still couldn't necessarily cover. So, because my rent was extremely crazy high. So, for me, yeah, right now I don't have a job, but maybe later down the road I might get a job.
Yeah, definitely. Like my advice would be like if you're coming as an international here, you have to have some amount of money saved up
Yeah.
so you could have like a backup just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I think also in the first year. I also didn't work in the first year, or at least started working in the first year, because in the beginning it's just all the new impressions, and
Exactly.
it's way more tiring than now. So I feel like it's very difficult to have a job at the same time then as well.
Yeah, you're managing all these
Yeah.
new things, new life, new accommodation, new people, new curriculum, new whatever, new everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to get used to it. You have to give yourself time. So yeah, you have to be prepared.
If there's one comfort that hasn't changed in all these years. When I was a student like you, many years ago, and I started my study actually in Canada,
Wow.
it was very expensive. You know, the,
Yeah, I
the
bet.
exchange rate was horrible. Canada was very expensive, and I had to, you know, really scrape everything together, get side jobs. I worked in factories and things like that during my studies there, just to cover my costs. So those sort of things, it doesn't change. But
Yeah.
it's
But I think that's also kind of expected if you're gonna study abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
true. You're not saying on your own. You have hopefully lots of good friends, but it's still. Yeah. Regarding friends, how's the student life? You know, how's the ESSET community?
I think the ESSET community here is actually pretty wonderful compared to like the studies I did before this. The ESSET community is wonderful, at least for as an international student. The international community here is so nice, and I feel very like welcomed here.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like, oh, I have to kind of talk to this one, or no, I feel like everyone is like, oh, hi. Like if I see in the hallways, hi, and the teachers are here are like so friendly.
Yeah.
So at least for me, the student life here is great.
Yeah. I'm also very proud of our community because it's not that big. Of course, it's not so good for the study and about itself. But that's why we all know each other. Like the teachers all know you. We know each other. Yeah. It's like a big friend group kind of. So that's what I really like about it.
Yeah, I would agree so,
Yeah.
That is good. Let's see. Alessio and Shanto, if you have any further questions, I hope I answered some of your questions that you posted in the chat. If not, then feel free to get back to me and ask a follow-up question. Oh, maybe that's still a good one. We already covered housing a little bit. So, but if you need to give one tip regarding housing, like where to look or how to look, or what would you provide as a suggestion for students that want to study here and are looking for housing? Any tips or suggestions you want to share?
I think depends. If you're Dutch, then you can have it a little bit easier because you kind of know how it works. But if you're an international, I would strongly advise you to like not be cheap and just hire an agent.
Yeah,
because
also,
it will save you so much.
I heard many good things about Click for Kamers. It's a Dutch website, but internationals
it's a lottery,
use
though.
it. True, but people have been lucky. I heard many people, and just Facebook groups. I've heard many good things about. Just
Honestly,
Facebook.
no, I would not recommend Facebook groups. No, because
it didn't work for
a
you,
lot of. No, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times they're looking just like only Dutch.
That's
So and sometimes like. And even if it's only Dutch, you have like 20 people or like 40 people lined up.
Yeah,
I was once lucky enough to get into like viewing, whatever. And I think they had like 25 people in the same room. And I was like, what is happening? And it was like such a weird experience because it wasn't like a normal viewing that you have, like, for example, with an agent. It was like some sort of like girl, she was renting out her room. And she invited like all these people. They wanted to come and see her room, and we all just like sat in the living room and drank wine and just talked.
Really?
Yeah, and I think she was like choosing people based on personality, and I was like,
wow, yeah.
What is happening? And they were all speaking Dutch, and I was like sitting there like, what's happening? So like, I don't know, maybe for Dutch people that's an excellent thing, I guess, but for internationals, I wouldn't say.
No.
So you got a really intercultural.
It was a shock.
I mean, from a Dutch. Yes, this is common. This is also what I had to do when I was a student. You know, you go to these the first one you go to, you're like, oh, I'm probably the only one. I just, you're invited, or you're invited like, half hour. No, everyone, all at once. And they just, it's weird. So it's impressive that you got in there and you got out alive. I mean, you probably didn't get the room, but at least you survived there. So
but how did you find your room that you have now then?
Through an agent, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, okay, so I had to move out of my first accommodation that was provided by uni.
Yeah.
And I...
Because that's only for the first year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find anything at all, even though I spent like 4 months searching on all different websites and Click for Commerce and everything else, everything that you can imagine. I spent 4 months, didn't find anything. Then I sub-rented a room from a friend of mine, but it was only also for like a couple of months. So then I had to move out again. And then I think I left my application on like a website that provides like agent help for students specifically. I think it's called student housing. And the agent contacted me in that period of time. And I was like, oh, great, nice. And then we met up actually in Avans. And we signed a contract and he found me a room in like 3 days.
But is it a room in a student house then still?
It is a room in a student house. It's not like a commercial student house. It's not like a big building. It's a private house that was made into a student house. But it's still like, it's a roof over your head.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we offer, as from Avans side, we offer the student housing for first-year students, and then we always try to offer suggestions, and we try to help out. But yeah, it is a challenge. Regarding tips and suggestions, are there other suggestions that you could give to a student starting next year? I mean, suppose that you would be a student starting next year, or you would. What would you tell yourself? Like, oh, please do this or please do that. What kind of suggestion would you give yourself if you would start here next year?
It's a difficult question.
I know. Regarding like how to prepare, things to bring, what are the things you should definitely put in your suitcase when you arrive here? Maybe that. Or we already talked about money, but maybe
a big stash of money.
Big stash of money, sure. A dictionary maybe, or I don't know, a bicycle.
A bicycle would be so nice.
Yeah, especially like public transport is not the cheapest option. So I think bicycle is like the best here. Everyone bikes, you have to learn how to bike, maybe. But
It's such a needed thing, to be honest, in the Netherlands. I don't know how people survive without bike.
The good thing is you can get it everywhere. So.
If you have like a student OV, then you can survive.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But I think I would at least, I don't know what I would tell myself to bring, but I would definitely tell myself those little assignments that you get in class that teachers say aren't mandatory to do. I would definitely tell myself, do them, because those little mini assignments are what prepare you for the exam. And so many questions come from the little quizzes, the little mini questions on the slides. So many questions comes from those. So I would definitely tell myself, do those questions.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Yes, finally. Yes. No, but true. Yes. Anything else?
I would also say to still maintain your social life, because as a program is a lot of workload, but to get through it, it's very important, I think, also with your classmates, because you're all new in the first year, to really get to know each other, do that. We have a study association, like join the study association, do the fun activities as well for your own mental health,
Yeah, I agree. Just get out.
Yeah.
Studying together is always better than studying alone. And then also after the exam, you can you can cry on each other's shoulder.
That's actually how I met like my really, really good friends now. We just agreed to study together.
Yeah, exactly.
I would also like advise myself for like the end of quarter drinks, go to those, because you go there and you meet so many people. I would definitely advise myself do that. And like normally when you come at the first year, your project group always like decides, oh, should we go into the center and like maybe do something fun? Yes, go with them. Definitely go with them, because most of the times those are people you're going to feel comfortable with. The first group of people you feel
Yeah.
comfortable with in like ESSET, and most of them they're going to probably be your friends. So I would advise go with them, do something fun with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also a really, really important thing is like you have to give different people a chance.
Yeah.
Because for me, I noticed like, so from my experience in high school, like I had certain type of friends
Yeah,
that I was
exactly.
so used to.
Yeah.
And I was looking for like similar people to be friends with.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the people that match with you
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
So really
Yeah.
give people a chance,
Yeah.
get to know different people and see what happens.
Yeah, especially since we're also an international study program, we have so many different people, and it's so interesting also to see just all those different personalities.
Exactly. Like in my third year now, I'm friends with really, really different people that I initially started talking in my first year.
Yeah,
Because I was trying to stick to like my own flock or whatever that means. But now like I got to know like pretty much all the people, and I see like everybody is just an amazing personality in their own way. So really get to know people, give them a chance, and yeah.
Is the project work in small groups, is that helping in that as a respect? Because generally speaking, we talk about it is a small program we have. We have around 50, 40 students every year, but you also work in small groups. Did that help you to like build friendships quicker, or do you hate those people in
I
your
would say
project group
it's
and like, oh, I never want to see them again?
both. I would say it's both. It both helps you to, especially in the beginning, to start talking.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there can also be conflicts, and you can fight, and then you won't be friends anymore. So I think it's both a negative and a positive influence. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I just like got to know people, but actually becoming friends with them, it was during the social events.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
So
Yeah.
I think in like the project you have more of a bit of professional vibes.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're like just chit-chatting, gossiping all the time, you don't get any work done. So
Yeah. True. Yeah.
But the projects help, right? The project,
in
I mean,
a way,
it's, yeah.
to a certain extent, but you have to put in more effort than
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but in general sense, like the project, would you rather have like courses where you just, learn things and don't do projects, or do you think like, oh well,
No, I think
No.
projects are definitely helpful.
Yeah.
But also, like besides building connections, they also nurture a variety of different traits that you have to have in a work field. So it's not only about making friends, right? It is some part of it, but I wouldn't say it's everything, right?
Yeah.
sure.
I would agree.
Yeah, I feel like the project groups are maybe what make you a little bit more comfortable with the people in your class.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can make you become friends, but most of the time it's like you just get comfortable with them.
Yeah,
You get to know
exactly.
them.
Yeah.
We are running towards the end of the show. Our first Student
crazy.
Café.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they're right now. I think we have to leave at some point. They're going to close the building. So, well, let's see. Maybe that's an interesting question to end with. Where do you eventually want to end up with? Where do you want to be as an environmental professional? Have you even considered that? I'm not sure. Maybe you're like still like, oh God, I still have to pass through everything. I still have to, but maybe you already considered like, oh yeah, I want to go in that direction, or I want to, whatever. Have you given this thought? And if so, what is your dream after studying?
I've given that a thought. I have, and I feel like maybe at the end of the first year, it kind of clarified maybe this is a direction I want to go in. I feel like more lab and research based is definitely a direction I want to go in. I want to work with my hands, or maybe combine it with environmental consultancy. But those are the two things I kind of look towards. But I don't know. I haven't given it much of a thought, so.
Yeah. For me, it's also a little bit difficult to know, but for me, I think I would less want to be in the lab. That's what I noticed for sure. But I know what I don't want. Like, I didn't like the lab that much. I think I would want to be more, like, my preference would be to work for more non-profit kind of organizations instead of, like, commercial. And yeah, I was also actually thinking of doing maybe a master's, But for me, like how I am now, I'm just focused on like the internship, still figuring out what I like and just seeing what opportunities come. And also I'm still open to try new stuff. But yeah, for now, I feel like I would want to have more like the holistic approach and less focus on only research or only consultancy or for a commercial company. And yeah, maybe doing a master's after this.
Yeah, for me, I definitely know what I don't want to do.
That's also good.
Yeah, I also don't think I'm that into like laboratories and stuff.
Yeah.
But I have been giving a lot of thought about sustainable urban planning.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm doing right now with regional climate adaptation. That's very similar to what I did during my internship. So I'm thinking like, maybe that's something that I want to go into. But I am still really, really open to different possibilities. So yeah, we're just gonna see. I'm not limiting myself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end there. Alexandra, Sasha, thank you very much.
Yes.
Kumani, thank you very much. Ewi, thank you very much for this first ever student cafe.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Although, we'll end it there. Thank you very much, dear audience, for joining us. And, hopefully see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, I think I pressed this button. Let's hope it works.